Chào mừng mọi người đến với Vela Podcast. Đây là một podcast chuyên chia sẻ về những vấn đề quanh việc du học, học tập và cuộc sống tại nước ngoài của các du học sinh, đồng thời là cựu học sinh tại Vela. Mục đích của podcast là cung cấp những thông tin thực tế nhất đến các bạn đang quan tâm đến việc du học để các bạn có cái nhìn khách quan hơn và chuẩn bị cho hành trình du học của riêng mình. Podcast sẽ được phát hành 9 giờ tối thứ Hai và thứ Sáu hàng tuần. Nếu các bạn có bất kỳ câu hỏi nào cần Vela giải đáp, hãy điền thông tin một form trong phần mô tả nhé. Nối tiếp với phần 1, chúng ta sẽ đến với phần 2. Thì trong phần 2 này, cô Alexandra sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn cách chuẩn bị hồ sơ và chúng ta cần nên có cho mình những thứ gì khi mà các bạn muốn apply vào Beloit cũng như là những cái trường đại học ở Mỹ nói chung. Và trong tập này cô cũng sẽ tiếp tục câu chuyện ở tập trước về những cái tấm gương thành công của các anh chị cựu học sinh Việt Nam tại Đại học Beloit mà chắc chắn sẽ giúp các bạn hiểu rõ hơn về các phương pháp đào tạo cũng như là cách mà Beloit ủng hộ và hỗ trợ học sinh trong cái sự nghiệp của mình. Chúng ta hãy cùng lắng nghe phần 2 này nhé. For students and parents in Vietnam, and I mean this question maybe help them to easily compare and make decision based on some data. So can you share some career outcomes of recent graduate class? And do you think how Beloit helps those students to reach those outcomes?
Yes, I think one of my favorite examples is a student actually from Vietnam. She graduated in 2021, so pretty recently. And it's a really great example of what I was just talking about how no matter what major or majors a student has, we want every single graduate to leave Beloit prepared in a way more, a broader way than just very specifically for a job title. So Ha Trong, she studied both computer science and English. So she did a double major, which, as you know, is really common in the liberal arts and something we highly encourage. So she came to Beloit and was like, I'm just all computer science all the way. I'm so excited about technology. And then she started taking English classes, comparative literature classes. She was introduced to some of our fine art museum and our anthropology museum. She just really enjoyed classes that helped her analyze literature, analyze art, write short stories, and really create in that way that she wasn't really used to as a computer scientist. And so her time at Beloit was really rich. She did internships. She was advised by multiple faculty, not just in computer science, but at Beloit, mentors are everywhere. So she ended up connecting a lot with one of our own professors in the econ department, who's from Hanoi. Her name is Dr. Phan. And so she always, mentors all of our Vietnamese students. But anyway, so Ha had a lot of wonderful support from her classmates, from her faculty. And because of this combination of majors, because she didn't specialize too much, she ended up taking a job at Meta, right after she graduated. So, again, not just technically trained, it's because she got this well-rounded education and expanded her horizons and really challenged herself in this kind of creative field that she landed a job at Meta right after graduating. Wow. And then another wonderful, I know that one's a really great story. I love telling this one. And then there's another story of another student named Heather. She's from Hanoi, and she just graduated, I think, last year, and was doing quantitative economics, which is a very popular major at Vietnam, and at Beloit, rather, among our Vietnamese students. So Heather did quantitative economics and I think education, and now she has opened her own IELTS training center in Hanoi. So our students are not only landing on their feet after graduation, but they're using Beloit as a launching pad into a career. Maybe it's the same career they thought when they first came that they would have. Maybe it's evolved with their interests, but they are graduating prepared to do the work that they want to do in the world.
Wow, it's so impressive to hear a lot of successful stories from Vietnamese students at Beloit College. Yeah, and I think that we talked enough about the academic side in Beloit. So I want to mention a little bit about their
extracurricular activities and that Beloit organized or like student organized by themselves to engage on other students in the college together.
Yes, and I like the transition into this question because, in some ways it's definitely really fun to talk about the social life and campus life. But at a school like Beloit, we really blur the lines a lot between what's purely academic and what's professional training and what's social fun time. Because, what makes our students interested in certain topics, like Ha, for example, she's a technical thinker. She's like really good with numbers and she loves creative writing. So those define her not only academically and professionally, but also socially, So our students tend to lean into their interests and they love to blur the lines between what's like school time and work time and fun time, But yeah, so we do have a very vibrant campus culture, lots and lots of clubs and organizations, everything from esports to, we have like language clubs, we have an art club, dance club, chess, Model UN, of course. Oh Lord, what was I into? A huge music and theater scene. Right. And then like the Vietnamese Student Association, we have associations that serve different culture groups and student groups on campus. Any students who are interested in working for the environment, working for racial justice, working for women's rights. We have organizations that really, fight for those causes as well on campus and help teach others. So whatever you're passionate about, there's a club for you at Beloit. We even have a pretty big sci-fi loving group on campus. We have parkour, like whoever you are, I can assure you your people are at Beloit. And then also in the US at residential colleges like Beloit, athletics are a big deal. So intramural sports, club sports, and varsity are a big part of the social fabric as well. So if you're like me and you were not good enough to play varsity, but you still enjoyed playing sports, I played badminton and volleyball all 4 years at Beloit at the intramural level. So it was a big part of my time. And I still got to be a little competitive and active. But I didn't, I was not going to represent the school in that way. So that's kind of what the social life is like. I also mentioned earlier that when you're at a residential school where everyone's living there all the time, that's when you really see all of these clubs in action. You can actually see your friends doing the thing that they love. And it's just really easy to celebrate that as a campus.
Well, so like there are a variety of clubs for students to choose based on their interests. Okay, so I just want to ask, like, this question is pretty about like for student choice, because most of them like want to decide whether they want to pursue like academic path or professional part, like whether they want to go to graduate school or end up having a job after graduating. So is Beloit a research oriented or career oriented college? And I mean, like, this question may have students to better like understand their choices later after graduation.
Of course. And I would really challenge this question a little bit, because I think maybe some institutions are more research focused or really more technical, vocational, career focused. But I don't think a college has to be one or the other. And I think Beloit is very much both. So I think maybe the liberal arts colleges do the best job of marrying the two. So, because when I see a career-oriented college, to me, that means one where they're training you very specifically for a job title, or very specifically for an industry to do a specific job within that company. So to me, that's a little overly specialized and sometimes a little linear. So that if for some reason that's not a right fit for the student, or for some reason the industry changes the way that they do that work, and this type of job is no longer necessary, that student might have less options to change and to adapt. So, Beloit definitely prepares students for careers, for sure. I just gave the two examples. We help students build a resume while they're learning, so that whether they want to go right into the job market, like Ha did, or whether they want to go to graduate school, that they're prepared to take that next step. I went right into graduate school after Beloit because that's what makes sense in the social sciences to do the work that I wanted to do. So I was able to get into the grad school I wanted with sparkling recommendations and the resume that I had built at Beloit with all those hands-on experiences. And research, research is also highly, highly emphasized at Beloit. And actually, I really want students to think, those who know that they're going to focus on research institutions, you don't have to attend a research university in order to do research. As an undergraduate, actually, students might have more opportunities to join faculty in their research or to pursue their own original research and to get funding for it at a liberal arts college than they would a large research university. Because large universities, they might have more research dollars and all of this, but a lot of times those resources are reserved for graduate students, not for undergrads. And they're often way more competitive. So for students to be able to build that resume, like I mentioned, to get those experiences, in their belt or in their bag that will help them take that next step, small liberal arts colleges have some of the best research opportunities. So our computer science students, for example, a lot of our STEM students can do funded summer research at Beloit. They're working with faculty as undergrads on the faculty's ongoing research, and they're being paid to do it. So I challenge students not to say, well, I need to choose either a research or career-oriented college, but look for both, because a lot of us do a pretty good job of offering, a very, again, hands-on, a very applied, a very results-oriented education that can prepare you for a career and then also kind of train you as a scholar at the same time.
Oh, thank you. So I hope that your answer can help a lot of students to understand Beloit better. So my last question for what is it like to study at Beloit? Do you think what makes Beloit unique and distinguished from other college all over the US?
I think Beloit is a really special place. It's a real gem of a college. For a lot of the reasons I mentioned, I think what we do particularly well is that blurring the lines, right? The way that we honor and value and embrace students for their academic, their professional, and their social qualities and their contributions to campus. So to be a place where students feel so supported and seen and appreciated as scholars, where students are invited to join the table, to get their hands dirty, to pull their sleeves up, right? And to work hands-on with this exciting work and research that's being done at our college. I think that's pretty unique. Another thing I think makes Beloit stand out is also the voice that our students have. So how transparent the lines are between our campus leadership, our president, our provost, our deans, and the students themselves. So, oftentimes at especially larger universities, there's so many people in between the student and the leader of that university that the student's voice isn't always heard. And so Beloit's leadership, I simply love working at an institution with leaders like Beloit has, who care so much about the students and want to see them succeed, where the social justice mission is really strongly felt in everything that we do. And so for the students, that means that they actually can knock on the president's office and sit down and have a chat with him for half an hour if something's bothering them. It's one where the president knows everyone by name. And it's just an environment where the students' voices truly are heard.
Yeah, I think that being heard is very important to university because everyone want to embrace their uniqueness and their voice a lot, because this is where the time where students can find their ego and personality. So yeah, I'm really happy that Beloit do very well in support students to express themselves. Okay, and I think that we should move to the application process to Beloit and how Vietnamese students can prepare well for the upcoming college application season in October this year. I think that this question will be like asked by a lot of students. So I'm here on behalf of those students to ask you this question. So do you think like what personality trait and characteristic that Beloit is looking in a prospective students?
Yes, I love this question. And I do get this question a lot from our Vietnamese applicants, but from applicants from all over the world, and it's one of my favorites. So Beloit is, again, we're an undergraduate school. So first of all, we're only recruiting for bachelor's degree seekers. But we're looking for a student who demonstrates that they love to learn, that they challenge themselves in the classroom, that they pursue the things that they're interested in to whatever extent they can, and who either already demonstrates to us a love for applied hands-on learning or shows us that they really, really are excited to do it. Because we understand, having such a global community of students, that not everyone comes from a similar high school. Not all students have access to extracurriculars. Some schools really don't support it. They want the students to focus on studying. Also, sometimes, the student faces many hurdles or challenges at home. So Beloit doesn't have like a GPA that we need to see in order to admit you. We look way beyond the numbers. We even say on our recruitment materials, you're more than a number, because I really want to see those qualities that show me that you would be successful at Beloit. Curiosity, hardworking, good time management, just pursues the things that you want in the way that you can. Those things show me that a student would thrive at Beloit. And that's what I'm looking for, not just someone who's admissible, who I think would be okay academically, but someone who's going to thrive and graduate a proud alum. Some of those qualities, which don't always show up on paper, those are the things I'm looking for. So in that way, Beloit is somewhat selective, but we're, again, not selective in an elitist way. We're just looking for a student who's a great fit for Beloit and who's going to be so happy at our college.
Ooh. So, like, is Beloit still accept SAT optional option, right?
We are, I think we use the term, we are unabashedly a test optional. So that means we do not require SAT, and we haven't required it for many, many, many years. We're one of the first schools that stopped requiring it. And the reason is, it wasn't just because of the pandemic, it was way before then. The reason for this is that, again, not all students have equal access to the SAT test, to private tutors, right, who can help them get a better score. And so, first of all, it's an access issue. And we are, again, we're a socially justice-driven institution. And so we want to make sure that when we're evaluating a student, when we're deciding who has what it takes to succeed at Beloit, that we're not adding barriers that aren't fair. So that if one student has a private tutor and is able to take the SAT 5 times and get a perfect score, and then the other student wasn't able to make it to the testing center because they had to take care of their grandma or something else happened, does that mean the second student is not as qualified? It certainly doesn't. So we will happily accept the SAT if the student is taking it anyway. We do require some proof of English proficiency, of course, for international students, and SAT can be an example of that, but we don't require it, and we will happily review an application without SAT.
Yeah, so in Vietnam, a lot of students still choose college, especially that has better quality courses. I mean, in terms of their major that they want to pursue. So sometimes Vietnamese students will see the chart and see what major did this college better is the path for. So do you think which major is that Beloit is specialized in or has high rank for its quality?
I think, there's there's a lot of work to be done on how people are defining better or best or highly ranked, because sometimes an institution that is highly ranked on a global scale or a national scale, that means great things, certainly. Those are fantastic institutions, but it doesn't always mean that the student's experience and likelihood to succeed as an undergraduate at that institution, it doesn't always equate. Like higher rank doesn't mean this is a better place for every student. So, I would really challenge students to not just look at rankings and not just apply based on what some list says is the best school, because it might not be the best fit for that student. But I think some of the programs that we are the best known for, definitely business and economics, quantitative economics, I've mentioned briefly before. That's one of our majors that is most exciting to international students and especially students from Vietnam, because it's a STEM major. And it's really rare to find those outside of the sciences. But so, yeah, for business and economics, people who are really good at math, quantitative economics is a fantastic major, partially because it's so much easier for students to get a job, to use OPT and to tend to be hired with a recognizable major like that. I would also really highlight anthropology at Beloit. I know it's a little less common for Vietnamese students to be interested in that. But for those who are fascinated by human evolution and the human experience, and how decisions are made between nations, between companies, between individuals, and how we as a culture learn from each other and make these decisions. Beloit is among the top 2 producers of future PhDs in anthropology in the country. So we are a fantastic location for anyone who, like me, is fascinated by the social sciences and wants to do work in this kind of space. Those are some fantastic ones, I think. Also, environmental science and justice is a really great program at Beloit. We have students who go into environmental justice and citizenship. So those who want to be policymakers and work on the ground and help educate people about things like climate change and sustainability, and just really helping interpret the needs of the planet to people. And then we have others who are more into environmental geology, environmental science, who want to be more on the lab side. So Beloit has a huge program for both types of students. So those are some of the 3 I love to highlight. Yeah,
thank you so much. And I think the next thing is like the one that international care the most, that is scholarship program and financial aid. And so, like, what are some available scholarship programs that Beloit grants for outstanding students, and how are they qualified for those scholarship as well?
Yes, one of my favorite topics as well. So Beloit offers very generous merit scholarships. And so, we're small liberal arts schools like ours, we generally will award a merit scholarship at the point of admission, and then the student can usually count on that same award all 4 years. And then large universities, they'll sometimes do a first-year scholarship, and that's it. And then the student will sometimes apply for departmental ones after that. So it's sort of 2 models of how scholarships work in the US. Beloit is that first one, where when I'm reviewing an application for admission, when I'm deciding, is the student going to thrive and do really well and contribute to our campus, I'm also assessing them for their scholarship level. So up to $40,000 per year is what our students can earn. We like to award generously. So as long as the student, if they have, like an A or A minus average, so like 93, 94 out of 100, if they're just a really strong academic performer, or just otherwise a fantastic applicant who's involved in a lot of things, who writes an excellent essay, who has strong recommendations, this holistic admission review, if it's a strong student, then they are very likely to be awarded our highest scholarship of $40,000. We also have a music scholarship. So for students who have been playing an instrument for quite some time, who want to be part of an ensemble at Beloit, like I was all 4 years, they can earn up to $5,000 on top of the other scholarship. So it's very generous. And then we also have need-based aid. So we also award grants, loans, obviously work study, All of these things we can put together to hopefully make Beloit affordable for the family.
Well, so I really thank you for all of your introduction about what Beloit offer for international students, and I hope that they can consider Beloit as one of their choice, because Beloit is very generous, since you say that they offer up to 40,000 per year. Yeah. So do you have any advice how students can prepare if they want to apply to Beloit college, and some basic step the student can have in their mind before submitting the application?
Of course, yeah. And this is a great time to be starting to think about that. I know if your listeners are just about to start their final year of high school, maybe you have some who are on a gap year, who are just getting ready to apply this fall. Listening to podcasts like this is fantastic research to be doing. It's so much easier now to also poke around on websites and take a look. So I would encourage students to just sit down and kind of just write out for themselves, what type of school do I want to study in? What do I value? What's important to me? And just sort of write it out for no one but themselves, and to see what comes up on that page, because that'll help them determine what type of environment is going to be good for them. All the students I've talked to who have come through the English Language Academy will have a lot of options. And, this is a bright pool of applicants. A pool that any college would be really lucky to have. I'm thrilled that so many of them apply to Beloit, so I get to meet them. So yeah, for students who, again, you like what you've heard on this podcast, you want to be part of this energy, part of this kind of campus that can help you become the best version of yourself. I would encourage you to, do a little more research into Beloit. We're on all the social media, and all the examples, the stories that I've shared are on our website and easy to find. I also highly encourage students to get in touch with me. I've been a great contact, I think, for students who've come through the English Language Academy. And I love talking to prospective students. So I encourage, anyone who's interested to learn more, to connect with me, to connect with Beloit, and start those communications early.
Yeah. So I will close this podcast with a very pretty personal question for all Vietnamese students. So I hope that Mrs. Alexandra, do you have any specific advices for Vietnamese students who are still struggling with their decision, or who are still sitting on the fence between options, and what they should do if they have some interest in Beloit College?
Yeah, so right. Because when we're recording this, it's the beginning of May. And so, in our calendar here, decision day has come and gone, and we still have students who are still on the fence, which is totally fine. I really encourage students, if they have not connected with me yet, or with the college that they're weighing, we're here to answer questions. We want to make Beloit possible for you. So I know that oftentimes, for example, it's a financial decision. And so, students will have oftentimes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 offers from other colleges. It can be really confusing to lay them side by side and say, okay, what does it actually take to attend this school, this school, this school? Which one has more value? So we really encourage students to reach out to us and ask us questions about the financial aid offer, so that we know that it's all clear what the cost would be. The financial aid offer, so that we know that it's all clear what the cost would be. If the student is weighing between Beloit and one other school, for example, in some cases we can match other offers. We can, if the student wants to end up at Beloit, we can help make that possible. So we just encourage them to be in touch. It's always okay to ask. You're not being rude. You're not bothering me. It's not a subject that's not okay to bring up. We're here to talk finances, and to help the student make a very confident decision.
Well, thank you so much for your last advice to on the Vietnamese students here. And I hope that like everyone who's listened to this podcast can get like the most of the information that Mrs. Alexandra already provided. And I'm really like thankful for having you as a guest speaker for the podcast this year. I hope that we can meet next year for the upcoming podcast to talk about like more interesting topic about Beloit as well.
I would love that. Yeah, it's been such a joy chatting with you. This is actually my first podcast. So I hope it's helpful to students. I hope to